Hi guys, it's Miss Congleton again, and I would like to share a book with you. It's a nonfiction book. It kind of goes along with the lesson that Mr. Hunley taught you about fishing. So we're going to dive right in. It's called Outdoor Adventures in Fishing, and it's by Adam Klein. And the thing I love about nonfiction books is that it has these table of contents in it, and it can help you kind of know what the book is going to be about. So when you get a book, always make sure you go to this page and see what you can find out about before you read it. It's a good tip with reading nonfiction. And this book begins with a story and kind of gets us in the fishing mood. And it's called Seabound. It says, Jason had not felt this great in a long time. The salty breeze cleared his nose. The bright sun stung his skin. Boating on the ocean waves was better than he had ever imagined. Suddenly, something caught Jason's eye. A dark, silvery fish leaped out of the water and arched its back. It appeared to pause for a moment just before falling back into the ocean. Its blade-like tail was the last thing to disappear into the rolling water. Jason and his father watched in astonishment. "Swordfish," said a gruff voice from behind him. Jason turned to see the gray-haired captain pulling off her stocking cap. "It's amazing every time I see them jump like that." She stared into the sea for a moment before looking back at Jason. "I've got a rod in my cabin. Beautiful days like this shouldn't go to waste." So Jason grabbed the rod and cast his line into the sparkling water. His father stood next to him as Jason awaited the challenge that every angler or fisherman hopes for. So when you check out Mr. Hunley's video, you're actually going on a fishing adventure with him. That was the swordfish that you just saw. So this book goes into different sections, and it says why fish. So let's talk about what would be a good reason to fish. Fishing is a popular hobby. Every year, millions and millions of Americans go fishing, and it can be from the smallest to the oldest who love to go fishing. There are many ways to fish. Some people fish in ponds, some people fish in streams and in lakes and even the ocean. And one good thing about fishing, this author says, is that it's a really good way to relieve stress and just spend time out in nature, just taking in everything you see. Okay, so let's talk about water types. Different kinds of water are home to different kinds of fish. Freshwater and saltwater are two main types of water. Lakes, ponds, streams, rivers, and swamps are filled with freshwater. Fish such as perch and walleyes live in these places. I bet you've heard about that from talking to some of the people that you know. Certain types of bass and catfish also live in freshwater. The ocean is made up of saltwater. The largest fish species that lives in saltwater, sharks, halibut, swordfish, and tuna are saltwater fish. These fish are often taken as trophies. Fighting against a large fish and pulling it in can be an exciting challenge. So the author gave you just a picture to look at, a fish in its own environment, kind of just swimming around. And it's really neat to see different kinds of fish, especially if you're thinking about fishing. You're thinking about the type of fish you could find and fish for. Now this is a freshwater fish's home. So the author has now given you different pictures and captions, which are the words beside the pictures to describe what you see, and to show you that this is a walleye fish, and it prefers gravel, rock, or firm sand bottoms. They use sunken trees and cover as feeding sites. You may remember from Mr. Hunley's lesson that he talked to you about different types of fish too. Here are different types of fish that lurk in the weeds and swim around in the weeds. And it also talks to you about how fish breathe underwater. This says, just like humans, fish need oxygen to survive. But instead of breathing the air, fish breathe the water. Different types of water contain different amounts of oxygen. Oxygen levels affect where certain fish can be found. These levels increase if there are many plants or lots of movement between the water and the air. So there's different kinds of environments for fish to be able to kind of swim around in. So think about that when you go fishing. What kind of fish or where you are. Now the next section we'll go to is called tricking fish. Now I know Mr. Hunley talked to you about this. Tricking fish has to do with giving tackle and bait. So it says anglers or fishermen use bait to fool fish into thinking they're going to get a meal. Some fish are attracted to live bait such as minnows, worms, salamanders, frogs, and grubs. Others are attracted to food such as cheese, or corn. So using an artificial bait, which is something that's kind of man-made, is a way to attract a fish. Because I've learned from reading this book that fish are attracted to colorful things. And if you choose the right one, depending on the fish that you're looking for, you just might get that fish on your hook. And there's a picture of two girls out fishing in the water with their bait. They're tricking those fish. So here's another section on tackle. Fishing equipment is called tackle. So your choice of tackle depends on where and how you plan to fish. Freshwater and saltwater tackle differ. And freshwater tackle varies among fishing methods. For example, bait fishing and fly fishing require different tackle. So you may have somebody at your home, grandpa, dad, brother, even sister, aunt, that has their own little tackle box. You may have your own tackle box. Now I know Mr. Hunley talked to you about different rods and reels, so this book talks about the difference between those. Fishing rods were usually made of wood or bamboo. Fiberglass or different types of other materials are also common today. And here's a picture of what they mean by reel. So it's really good to read nonfiction books because it really helps you to see, because they give you lots of good pictures, it helps you to see what it is that this author is talking about. And I thought this was really cool in this book. It's an ice fishing section, and it tells you how fishermen actually fish on the ice. That's not something we would do around here, I suppose, but it seems it's really cool. It says even in the deepest chill of winter, there are fishing opportunities. Fish are less active in cold water, but they still bite at food. Ice fishing is a favorite cold water activity of many devoted fishermen. To stay warm, many ice fishermen sit inside small structures called fish houses. And as you can see from this picture, I'm going to show you that one more time. There's lots of people on that ice fishing. So that's just a different way to go. Now, I know Mr. Hunley talked to you about getting out there and fishing and taking care of yourself and being safe. So I'm going to go through and see if I can find that section that talks about being safe on the water. This section talks about handling fish. So it tells you to be very careful and use make sure you've got an adult with you, or be very careful when you're pulling out the hook out of the fish's mouth. Always, always wear that life jacket when you're around water, and be safe and have a great time. So this book, and I didn't read all of it, I read some highlights, was called Outdoor Adventures in Fishing. And it's at the library. When I see you again, I hope one of you checks this out. And I hope you enjoyed going along on a fishing trip with Mr. Hunley and enjoying my book. Thank you.